Right now, Sinners is the #1 movie in the world. Critics are calling it groundbreaking, fans are obsessed with the story, the acting, the emotion, the ambiance, all of it. And I agree, the movie really impressed me. But most people have no idea what's really being shown to them in this film. This isn't just entertainment, it's spiritual. Behind the flashy visuals and the hype, Sinners pushes a message that literally exposes what Hollywood has been doing to the masses for decades, glorifies darkness, rebellion, and then some. It's subtle, it's strategic, but it's planting ideas without people even realizing it. Today we're breaking down what's really behind this movie and why everybody should care about it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of DECODED podcast, and of course I'm your host Didi, back up in this witch. What another video, man. Listen, I went to see Sinners last week, and I'm going to be honest with you. I loved it. I rank it as, and I still rank it a 9 out of 10. I love the acting. I love the production. I love the ambiance. I love the film. And to be even more honest with you, the original purpose of this video was to be in response to this really big YouTuber by the name of Stevie Knight, because he is the only person I've seen call the movie trash. I have no problem with somebody having a difference of opinion. I think that's what makes us unique. I love that. But it wasn't that he didn't necessarily care for the film, it's that he called it trash, and more so the reason why he called it trash. He said that the film was woke. And for those of you who don't understand what that means, he simply said, oh boy, here we go, another film where white people are the bad guys, black folks are the victim, stop making black people the victim all the time. I was turned off, I didn't like the film. And I think he missed the mark a lot with this film. Because while there are a lot of double meanings in this movie, I believe this film was everything but woke. Dude, the film is literally from the 1930s, bro. That was literally a time you couldn't even question if racism was real or not. It was obvious that racism was real. It's all right to talk about racism when it's obvious. You can make the argument in 2024, 2025 that we got a lot of people that politicize and weaponize racism and claim racism even when it doesn't apply. You and I would agree. That's not what this film is, bro. And so, yeah, he was getting a lot of backlash in his comment section, to the point that he even made a whole new video reacting to all the hateful comments. And you had a lot of people talking about the fact that he didn't like the film because his wife is white and he was uncomfortable watching it and calling him a coon and calling them names. And while I'm not willing, and I would never be willing to go that far to start going at somebody in that manner, what I will say is that what we should not do is to fall victim to black person made the film, black people in the film. They have to be the good guys and take up for them because they're a part of the culture. That's a very bad mistake, because if we talked about on this channel, look at Hollywood. They don't look at things as black and white the way we do. They look at things as them versus us. And a lot of people don't understand that. Look at some of the most powerful people in Hollywood. You got Jay-Z, Oprah, P. Diddy, all these. Tyler Perry is one of the most powerful people in Hollywood now. And I got a fire video coming on, one of the best videos I'll ever drop on this channel. I have in the works and I've been working on for some time on Oprah that's coming. So you can't just look at black people and always want to lift them up simply because because a lot of these people are evil. But I digress. This video is not even going to be in response to that, because we have something much more deeper to talk about, as we normally do on this channel, and that is the spiritual meaning of this film. So this is a spoiler alert. I am about to give away many details from this film, so if you don't want to hear it, now is your time to click off. But if you choose to continue to watch, which I hope that you do, please choose to hit that like button so this video can be promoted to other people such as yourself. And please consider becoming a member of the channel. And if you want the uncut version of this video, please join my Patreon. You won't regret it. So the movie Sinners, which came out the weekend of Easter, or the weekend of the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, being that we just talked about the Pope and how Easter is actually not about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but if you want to see that, click on that video. You won't be disappointed. But I do want to say that it wasn't a coincidence that this film came out on this weekend, and it also just so happened to be called Sinners. And the best way to describe this film is like this supernatural, southern, gothic, horror, thriller type of film, starring Michael B. Jordan, of course, who played both leading roles. The story is set in 1932, deep in the racially segregated South at the time, specifically in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Fun fact, I am from a town in Arkansas, not even an hour away from Clarksdale, Mississippi, born and raised there. Been to Clarksdale a whole lot of times in my life. And here's another fun fact. I have a close relationship with blues music, as I've competed and I've even painted for B.B. King, the famous late musician. And I've won a lot of contests in the Clarksdale, Mississippi, Arkansas Delta area. Just a fun fact, back to the video. And as I just said, it's the heart of the Delta, a place rich with blues music, poverty, injustice, and a deeply spiritual but heavily burdened black community. Michael B. Jordan plays twin brothers, Elijah Smoke Moore and Elias Stack Moore. After surviving World War I, the two brothers drifted into shady work, ultimately getting tied into the Chicago outfit, which is basically organized crime. After years of living up north, they return home to the Mississippi Delta. Using stolen money, they buy a rundown sawmill from a racist landowner named Hogwood. The purpose is because they want to transfer the property into a juke joint, a music hall where black musicians can play freely and the local community can gather in peace. They then go around town recruiting people to work at this juke joint. One of the people helping them would be their young nephew, Sammy, an incredibly talented blues guitarist. Sammy's father, Jedediah, a strict Baptist preacher, literally hates this idea, and he warns his son that blues music is the devil's music, a gateway to corruption and spiritual danger. But Sammy believes he's found his calling and doesn't listen to his father. They also recruit Smoke's wife, Annie, who is also a voodoo witch, to be the cook, an Asian couple to be the suppliers, another man they know to be the security, and an old drunk to be a part of the band / play the piano, etc. And then a married adulterous woman to be the lead singer. When the juke joint finally opens, Sammy plays a set so powerful, so soul-stirring, it taps into something otherworldly. His music doesn't just move the people, it literally summons something. That's when Remick, an ancient Irish vampire, and his followers arrive. Remick had been on the run from Native American Choctaw vampire hunters and senses the supernatural power in Sammy's music. You see, Sammy's gift isn't just talent, it's spiritual. His music connects the living and the dead, creating thin spaces where dark things can pass through. In other words, it encourages people to sin, hence the name of the film Sinners. Remick and his vampires first pretended to be local musicians trying to get into the juke joint to perform, but the security guard was suspicious because, they're white folks in 1930 and they're black folks, so they're definitely suspicious. After being denied entry, the vampires began infiltrating the community and turning everyone into vampires that came outside of the juke joint building. Since vampires can never enter a space they haven't been invited to, they had to wait. That's why they had to wait until everybody came outside. And their ultimate plan was to use Sammy's music to fully open the door to the spirit world, giving them ultimate control. Stack and Smoke soon realize what's happening. Smoke, the more aggressive brother, wants to burn everything down and start fresh. Stack, who is the more thoughtful one, wants to protect Sammy and save the community without destroying what they built. Meanwhile, Hogwood, furious about being outsmarted by two black men, aligns himself with the vampires, offering human sacrifices in exchange for regaining his power over the land. The situation spirals into an all-out war. The juke joint, once a symbol of hope, now becomes a battleground between good and evil. Throughout the film, the juke joint itself becomes symbolic, representing black culture, creativity, and community under attack by outsiders who want to consume it without respecting its soul. And then Sammy really becomes the key because his music is both the weapon and the prize. In a climactic battle inside the juke joint, Sammy uses his guitar to unleash a spiritual force that banishes most of the vampires back into the darkness. However, not everyone survives. Smoke sacrifices himself to save Sammy, dying in the battle against Remick. Stack survives, but he was very wounded. Then we flash forward decades later. It's the 1990s. Stack, who has somehow gained supernatural longevity, visits an elderly Sammy living in Chicago, now a legendary bluesman. Stack offers Sammy the quote-unquote gift of immortality to join him and continue fighting these dark forces. But Sammy refuses. He says that living, aging, and dying is part of being human. He chooses to live out his final days naturally, surrounded by the music and people he loves. Another way to look at this is that Sammy chose to once again ignore his father's advice, turn away from God, and continue with blues music despite seeing how evil spirits were associated with the music. One of my first spiritual critiques of this film is that, just like many other Hollywood films and shows, they make witchcraft seem acceptable, good. Like, for example, Harry Potter, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Hocus Pocus, and even The Wizard of Oz. Guys, there is no, and I repeat, there is no such thing as good witchcraft, no matter what Hollywood tells you. 1 Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 12. There should not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or charmer or medium or necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. Another perception I have of this film is that, the vampires were supposed to represent like the devil or evil music execs in Hollywood that offer musicians record deals and other opportunities in exchange for eternal life and freedom if they agree to the deal. There was one point in the film where there was an incredibly impressive blend of all types of genre of music playing at once, from African tribal music to blues to rock to modern day hip hop, which I felt was to symbolize that this trance and control through music has not always been a thing, but it is not just limited to just one genre. It's a spirit of sin. And I couldn't help but to think about Robert Johnson. And for those of you who are not from the Delta or just don't know, Robert Johnson is the famous Mississippi Delta blues musician who was rumored to have sold his soul to the devil at a crossroads in exchange for his musical talent. He wanted to be a musician that badly. In Sinners, the character Sammy literally mirrors that story, a gifted young guitarist whose music draws supernatural attention, symbolizing how talent can become a spiritual battleground between good and evil. Both of these artist characters represent how music can and does control the masses, especially our young people, and places people in a trance, helps shape their way of thinking and even how they feel about certain things. Something we've talked about many times on this channel. This spirit that Sammy seemed to be summoning throughout the film is something called spirit channeling, which is 100% a real thing and something artists tap into, where they rely on something else to write their music and control them. Look at Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, Eminem, Slim Shady, Nicki Minaj, Roman Zelensky, Kendrick Lamar, Kung Fu Kenny, and the list goes on. And I even just talked about the other day, the video of the young lady who said that she had a boyfriend, that's a guy that she used to date, who went through this transition over like a year and a half of making music, and then these execs called him out to Atlanta, or from Atlanta to like Hollywood, and she slowly watched her boyfriend change, and she would eventually walk in on him trying to summon a demon or something, and it was working. Like something else was writing his music for him, and this is allegedly a true story. Or you can take Bob Dylan, this infamous interview where the man literally says he made a deal with the chief commander of this world and a world we can't see, clearly implying something supernatural.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Or you can take this infamous rant by Kanye West, who literally said, "I sold my soul to the devil, that's a crappy deal. At least it came with a few toys like a Happy Meal."
I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. At least it came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
And that's from an unreleased song called Eyes Closed. Spirit channeling is also something that actors do, such as Denzel Washington, Heath Ledger being one of the most notorious ones, Anthony Hopkins is another one, and even Michael B. Jordan himself admitting to doing it.
I would pray to him. I would channel his energy. I would just ask to be around.
I would pray to him. I would channel his energy.
When did you feel it the most?
Honestly, it was when it was on the platform. And we'd only use it while the train wasn't running. Yeah. And tons of extras, limited takes, one camera. But that's where his presence was around me the most, I think, at the platform for sure. It was, it's that weird, eerie feeling, but it was a good feeling. I don't think I could have done it without him.
It was a good feeling. I don't think I could have done it without him.
Being there.
Him, Oscar.
Yeah.
The energy of Oscar.
His presence, for sure.
Yeah.
I have a process. I'm not like one of these, some people have met this or this or that. I just did whatever I felt I needed to do, or whatever I felt was right in the moment, step of the way. So it was no real plan. I didn't have an escape plan either. So like every day was just going into this place, and I just tried to stay there as long as I could. And then when it was all over, I think just being in that kind of that mind state, that real unapologetic, just real whatever all the time, kind of kept it caught up with me, and I got a little depressed. It was tough for me for a minute, really? Just readjusting to being around the people that care about me, getting that love that I shut out for a long time. Like I shut out love. I didn't want love and affection. I wanted to be in this lonely place as long as I could and kind of capture the essence of what Eric, Stevens was, what Killmonger was. So when we wrapped the film, I'm like, in my mind, it's like, okay, cool, go back to, regular life, get back to LA, be cool. But it was a little tough for me at first to kind of like accept
It was hard
that
just to
love.
lay him down and be done with it.
Yeah.
How did it take you a while?
It took me, I don't really know exactly when I came out of it, but, I went to therapy, you know what I'm saying? I started talking to people, started unpacking a little bit. And like,
I find that so interesting. I find that so interesting because I think the body doesn't know the difference. I remember having this conversation with a famous actor once about Anthony Hopkins. I would say Anthony Hopkins.
You know what I'm saying? He was talking in an African accent, bro. You putting me for dinner at 9 o'clock. I remember the Disney executives came to see us on Panther like week 2, and he pulled up, and it was Charlie's accent. Like, man, what's going on? They was freaked out, and I was like, don't be freaked out. He working, man. That's how he don't turn it off till we rap. You know what I'm saying? And no shame or embarrassment in that. But that's how he was moving. You know what I'm saying? And for Mike to see that up close, to have to do scenes across from that, and then for me to be able to say that to him, you know what I'm saying? Like he's transitioned to become an ancestor and say, hey, bro, what would the big homie do? You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, locked in. You know what I'm saying?
The biggest takeaway from this video or from this film, whichever one, is that the movie Sinners is deeper than just race. It's not just about white and black people, and we keep falling for that, man. Like, it's not just about race. Sure, race plays a role, and I personally believe, and I don't mean for that to sound hateful, I think a lot of non-black people are not gonna fully understand this film when they watch it because of the cultural aspect of it. That has nothing to do with, so to speak, race, because, so in other words, white people that come from or grew up in black culture, so to speak, or so-called black culture, will probably have a better understanding of this film. But for even those who understand the film from a cultural perspective, it's still surface level because this is spiritual, bro. And this film is telling us how they use music to control people and create and keep us all as sinners, but they made it look and sound so good with the production. That's my ultimate point here. I'm not going to be one of those people that encourages you not to watch the film. I think that you should be able to have the ability to watch a film, be able to prioritize or decode the things from the film that are good and not good for you to take with you going forward. Again, I give it a 9 out of 10 as far as like from a surface level, as a carnal human's perspective. But from a spiritual perspective, this film was extremely revealing and talked about like the 7 deadly sins. And I think a lot of the characters represented that, from greed to pride to lust to adultery. And it was a teachable moment from this film. It was something to learn from this film about how not to live, about how not to be taken advantage of how not to want something so bad that you're willing to sell your soul, whether that be your morals or your literal soul. If you're one of those people that believes that you can actually do that, because I know a lot of people believe our soul belongs to God and it's not ours to sell to begin with. Anyways, I don't want to make this video too long, man. Y'all hop in the comment section, give me your thoughts. I just thought I would be able to present this to you. You tell me what you thought about the film. Have you watched it yet? Do you think my synopsis of the film and my reaction to the film was pretty accurate? Hop in the comment section, let me know, man. As always, I'm Demetrius. I go by Didi. Hit the like button. I really appreciate it. That's all for this one. Until next time. Peace.
Oh, yeah. Didi got a podcast.